Fox Fantasy Sleepers of the Week, brought to you by the Sports Hub.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for the Week 18 edition of Fox Fantasy Sleepers of the Week, brought to you by the Sports Hub. My name is Corey, he's Lucas, and we're the Fox Fantasy Insiders.
Yeah, you said it, Week 18. We're here already. You know, fantasy championships for redraft they're done, they're completed. And now we're going to talk about DFS plays. And if you have not been here before, this is a show where we talk about daily fantasy sleepers, and we just try to win you guys some big money with our amazing sleeper picks. Hopefully we can do that again this week, because last week it was a nice one.
Last week was a nice one, and that's right, Lucas. It's the final week of the regular season, so thank you guys for being with us all year long. We are going to be continuing a version of this show anyway for the postseason beginning next week, so be sure to check that out. It'll be at the same time, all the same platforms that you're used to catching us on. We're going to be doing that over at Cooley Cards and Gaming, so we're really excited to talk about postseason DFS football with you guys, and we look forward to that. And of course, very thankful to the Sports Hub for them supporting us here during the regular season. So let's talk about the Sports Hub a little bit. All new menu debuting soon here at the Sports Hub. Come on in and check out all their daily specials. They're open for lunch and dinner all week long. Homemade pizza, hand-battered fresh fish on Fridays, homemade soups. They got everything here. Don't forget to check out brunch as well from 10 to 1 on Saturdays and Sundays. Whatever the occasion, make sure to support the Sports Hub. Because as we said, without the Sports Hub, we wouldn't be here bringing you these picks.
Yeah, we got in a routine of coming here every single week, and I feel like I'm still going to do that. Maybe on the weekends, I'll still stop in and have a couple beers and
Corey and Lucas will have a very important client meeting every single Thursday at 10 a.m.
Exactly. I'm not stopping the routine. You got to keep on going.
That's right. All right, guys. Well, we're going to take one final look at our picks from last week. This will be our last Chalk Talk of the year. Yeah. So let's take a look, pull up that board. Lucas, why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, well, let's start off with the little whoopsie here. I went with Isaiah McKenzie and came off of a career game. And as I said in the last show, I said Beasley and Davis were both going to be out. Well, I totally forgot about the new COVID protocols, and that was just my bad on my part, but I did tweet a little pivot to Gabe Davis, who got 7 points. If you followed that, it was better than Isaiah McKenzie, obviously, but still not really what you're looking for. But Braxton Berrios with 26.7 points, 60 spots above slot value. He was wide receiver 4 in the week. I think this is my favorite pick of all 18 weeks. I'm really happy that this happened. This just made my whole week. He had 8 receptions on 9 targets with 2 touchdowns. They just got him involved, and he's just on fire right now. Hopefully he keeps that up. And then Rex Burkhead with 13.9 points. He had 16 attempts for 47 yards. And the receptions, that's what really saved him. He had 6 receptions for 32 yards, so it's that huge PPR, factor that I think saved him. But
that's right.
Not a bad
week at all. Braxton Berrios definitely one of the top 5 picks, I think, of the year for the insiders, maybe the top one in terms of performance against slotted value. You've been a big Braxton Berrios guy. We talked about Braxton Berrios dating back to a few weeks ago when I know you wanted him to be a deep sleeper and I vetoed you. But obviously you knew something that I didn't, and Braxton Berrios, you're right, very involved in that offense, looked great. Great pick.
Thank you. You had some solid picks, all 3 of yours hit, so let's hear them.
That's right. Trey Lance ended with 20.06 points, 21 spots above slotted value. He was actually the cheapest option of all the starting quarterbacks available that week, so a big boom there. I mean, there was really no surprises. I mean, he didn't even play a very good game, and he still had 20 points. Again, it's that rushing volume that really boosts him. Boston Scott, 24.6 points. He was 39 spots above slotted value, finished RB5 on the week. Big game from him. Jordan Howard tried his hardest to vulture a couple of red zone touchdowns, but got tired, and Boston Scott got in there and got those red zone touchdowns.
He's the man.
So we love that. Unbelievable. We were just talking about Miles Sanders before we went on air here, and that whole Eagles backfield, that they're one of the top 5 rushing offenses in the league. Miles Sanders somehow didn't score a touchdown this year.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, really?
But Boston Scott took care of that. Obviously, Jordan Howard has had a lot of 1-yard plunges this year as well. Finally, Michael Gallup, boy, this could have been a boom. He got injured in the first half on a beautiful touchdown grab, which turned out to be a torn ACL.
Was it on that play, too?
It was on that play. What could have been there for sure. I mean, that was all first half production. I think it was about 2 minutes left in the half when he went down. He had 3 catches for 36 yards and a touchdown. So boy, in a great matchup. I mean, they could have really used Michael Gallup. Cedric Wilson actually ended up, I think, having 6 catches for, I want to say, like 30 yards and a touchdown in Michael Gallup's absence. So, I would love for Michael Gallup to take credit for that, and then I can say all my guys had over 20 points.
Yeah.
But I can't do that.
You still did well, though. You got that touchdown. I mean, it sucks. I got him in my Dynasty League, and he's on his contract year, and it's just tears, man.
Yeah.
It sucks.
He did finish plus 11 above slotted value still, so you guys will forgive me for putting the Fantasy Insiders injury jinx on him. Finally, our deep sleeper, Brashad Perriman, had 6.1 points. Actually, Cyril or Cyril? I think it's Cyril Grayson was the one who really stepped up for the Buccaneers. Of course, that whole fiasco with Antonio Brown presented even more opportunity for Perriman. And Perriman didn't make a lot of his opportunities, but 6.1 points on a very inexpensive deep sleeper.
Could do worse.
Can do worse.
Could do Isaiah McKenzie,
There you go. But all in all, a great week for the Insiders.
Yeah, no, it was solid. Hopefully this week we can. I'm going out on a limb on one of my picks here, but I feel confident with them. It's a weird week because there's some teams that are obviously not playing their starters, and you just gotta keep up with the news. Look who's starting, look who's playing, and look at their their implications of making the playoffs or if they got anything to play for. So that's important to keep in mind. So
that's right. It is the week in which guys who love sleepers thrive.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be so many opportunities for sleepers with who's playing, who's not.
Yeah.
So we got some good picks for you this week, I think.
Definitely.
All right. Well, without any further ado, Lucas.
Yeah.
How about you? Let's get into it.
Yeah, here we are in week 18. I got a sleeper quarterback for you, and he's a rookie. It's not Trevor Lawrence, it's not Mac Jones, but it's Davis Mills. And before you laugh at me, I'm laughing at myself, but this 3rd-round pick has actually exceeded some expectations, and he's had some decent games. I understand that Mills' only attractive weapon is Brandon Cooks, but he's been reliable. Also, here and there, he'll check down to his odd running back group. But I think it's safe to say that David has progressed into a promised starting quarterback for the Texans. In Week 18, he'll face the Titans at home, and Tennessee has given up the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing wideouts, so big game out of Brandon Cooks, hopefully. They're also the stingiest defense when it comes to opposing running back fantasy points, so I'm anticipating a Houston game plan featuring Mills in the pocket, feeding Cooks and his array of secondary options, including the up-and-coming Nico Collins. I like watching him play. He's a fun guy. And I just think 250 yards, maybe 2 touchdowns. It's realistic. Not saying that'll happen, but I think Mills can be started as a top 16 quarterback or so. And he's going really cheap. He's 5,300 on DraftKings and 6,400 on FanDuel. I'm going out on a limb. Like I said, it's weird picking General Mills here in Week 18, but play the rookie, see what he's got.
I like the pick.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been sheepish about it and embarrassed almost about the pick, and
it's weird.
I don't feel that poorly about
Yeah.
it. I mean, he's been a solid quarterback. Last week was kind of a quiet week for him, but prior to last week, he'd had a couple of games where he'd really been on a tear, and I know that from, frankly, the last few weeks of the regular season in my redraft leagues. I was frequently going after that Houston offense with my streaming defense. Houston kind of had a soft schedule at the end of the year, so they had some defenses like Jacksonville and people like that you could pick up and stream against Houston, and Davis Mills was ripping it up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that top 16 could even be conservative. I don't want to set any false expectations, but he's well within reason to be a top 10 play. He has been, I think, more often than not during the final stretch of the regular season.
Great. Let's hope. Who do you got for your first pick?
I'm also taking a rookie quarterback that's not Mac Jones and not Zach Wilson. I'm taking Justin Fields. His DraftKings price is $5,400. He's had 4 straight starts with at least 16.9 fantasy points. I am excluding Week 11. He left that game, I believe, in the second quarter with a rib injury. So I'm throwing that game out. You throw that game out, he's had at least 16.9 fantasy points, 2 games with over 20. The Bears' offensive skill positions might be the healthiest in the league, honestly. They're not missing anybody. They have all their weapons. It's a great matchup against Minnesota. I emphasize a great matchup. Minnesota is 28th in points allowed to opposing QBs. They're playing for nothing. The Bears are arguably playing for more, knowing it's Nagy's last game, knowing they still have a rookie quarterback to develop. I think the Vikings are going to mail this one in, and I expect a favorable game script because even with the Vikings mailing it in, I do expect the Bears to be behind and having to throw a lot. And when somebody's behind, having to throw a lot against a weak secondary, generally good things happen. Now, Justin Fields is on the injury report, so be aware of that. He didn't play last week. He's got an ankle. all signs have pointed towards him playing this week. As you guys know, we do shoot this show on Thursdays, so I don't know for sure that Fields is going to suit up yet, but stay tuned to Twitter. I'll update you for sure if he doesn't play, and I'll give you an alternative. But I feel pretty good about him playing, and everything I've read, it sounds like he's going to play.
Yeah, I think Nagy confirmed that he's going to be the starter, so as long as everything goes well in practice and everything. But yeah, everything you said just makes sense. You know, you got the rookie quarterback, you got to play him, even though you're not going to the playoffs. You got to develop that quarterback, and he's got the legs, just like Trey Lance. And against Minnesota, man, the divisional, you know, let's do it. I like that. It's fun.
Some good things coming, and it's in Minnesota, so weather not a factor.
Right, and that's always a relief. I love that.
Lucas, second pick.
Yeah, all right. Surprise, I'm going with Laquan Treadwell once again. It's funny. I think he's been the most popular player on our show this regular season, and I'm just going to end with him here in Week 18. Why? Well, there's two main reasons, the floor and the price. He still remains cheap. He's going for $4,400 on DraftKings and $5,300 on FanDuel. He went 6 for 87 this past week. Now that's 6 straight weeks with at least 4 for 50. And like I said, the floor is there. If you just need some points, which sometimes you do, especially in this like wacky situation that we're in with a combination of COVID, you got injuries, and teams with motivations to shut players down, Laquan Treadwell will be the man. Another big selling point is the PPR format. It's a very nice comfort blanket when you're making your lineup. You know, just spend up on your studs and then plug in a safe, cheap receiver. The last 5 games, he's on pace for 80 receptions and 1,100 yards. He's been valuable, and he's been playing a ton, 88% of snaps. Even with last week's tough matchup against the Patriots, the floor was still there, and he was still a solid play. So just keep doing your thing, Laquan. That's
right.
How I feel.
We love Laquan Treadwell here on the Fantasy Insiders. Lucas is totally right. I believe he is the most picked player on this show. We've been primarily relying on him as a deep sleeper because of
kind of elevated.
His price has sort of been, generally below 4,000. They finally got him up to 4,400, which is still
take it.
Just super cheap. And even we've had deep sleepers who have been more than that.
Yeah.
So a great pick, and Lucas 100% right. Totally safe floor. A guy who through the last 5 weeks of the regular season has been steady Eddie, and you can bank on production there. Same kind of situation. You got a rookie quarterback. They're probably trying to evaluate, what are the next steps for this team.
Right.
Marvin Jones maybe doesn't play a lot. Of course, James Robinson's missed the last couple of games with that torn Achilles. So they're probably going to lean on throwing the ball a lot with Lawrence. They're down to, I think, their 4th-string running back. So Laquan Treadwell is the man. He's on the field all the time, and he has got a very safe floor. I love the pick.
Thank you.
All right.
Awesome. Who do you got for number 2?
For my second pick, I'm also taking somebody whose DraftKings price is $4,400, and that is Cyril Grayson of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We talked about him a little bit when we talked about Rashad Perriman. And look, this guy has sneakily had back-to-back games with 81 yards receiving, exactly 81 in both games. That's impressive. We love symmetry here on this show. He has averaged 16.3 fantasy points per game over that span. He is expected to be the primary beneficiary following AB's incident, if that's what you want to call it. And I say that because he was the primary beneficiary following AB's incident last week. And most importantly, I think he's got Tom Brady's vote of confidence. Tom Brady spoke very highly of Grayson following the postgame presser, and this is a guy who is a former Olympic sprinter. He is
really? I didn't know that.
28 years old. Do you think this is just like a rookie who came out of nowhere? No, he's a converted Olympic sprinter. And he has been dynamite, and he really was the reason why the Bucs won that game against the Jets. I don't see his role diminishing, and sometimes that happens. You see a guy who goes off because somebody leaves the game with injury, and he was just the next man up, and they refigure the game plan to maybe get a more talented player in there. I think he is the most talented option to replace that slot value of Antonio Brown. And the slot receiver in a Tom Brady offense, boy, oh boy, is that ever money.
Yeah, no, it is. And yeah, I love that Tom Brady, boosted his confidence, credited him and everything. But man, what is up with this wide receiver room? They're just getting banged up. I got AB's whole situation, but I think this guy steps up. I didn't know much about him, and I think it's a great pick. It's going for a great value, and yeah, no, it's solid for sure.
Right.
Definitely.
All right, Lucas, last pick.
I'm going with Arizona Cardinals wide receiver Antoine Wesley. This guy has been playing in the spot of DeAndre Hopkins, and he's been getting a ton of opportunities. This is a player who just kind of came in, and it seems that he's been given more than just a few targets. And I'll be honest, just like Corey's last pick, I didn't know who this guy was a few weeks ago, and now that he's shined, being a huge red zone target for Kyler, and overall has been playing solid. This dude is just massive. He's 6'4", 206 pounds, and the chemistry is there with Kyler and him. Yeah, they knew each other from college, and I think I saw somewhere that they even lived together at some point, so I'm not 100% sure on that, but if it is true, that's pretty cool. Yeah, chemistry. And he takes on Seattle, and if you're scratching and clawing for a sleeper, I think he'd be a good option for Week 18. He's going for 4,100 on DraftKings and 5,400 on FanDuel. What do you think about this guy? He's been kind of hot.
Yeah, I like the pick. I mean,
Yeah.
he's been a hot hand. I think you've picked every single Arizona pass catcher at one point or another.
I think so too.
With
Hopkins.
exception to Hopkins, because he doesn't make the cut as a sleeper.
Yeah.
But you know, Chase Edmonds has been picked on this show.
Yeah.
I don't know that we ever went James Conner, but we've been
think
over that Arizona team.
I think the same thing with the Bucks, to be honest. Those are two teams.
A lot of hidden options out there. So, but he's been the guy as of late, so I think it's a good pick.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
right.
What do you got for last one?
For my last pick, I'm going with, if Laquan Treadwell has any competitor for most popular pick on the show, it would be this guy. I'm going with Cedric Wilson. He actually plays on Saturday, so be on the lookout for that. There's 2 games on Saturday, and I'm using the classic format to determine his draft price here, because you can do classic mode on Saturday and just pick between the 2 games. But Cedric Wilson, his DraftKings price is only $3,900, which is crazy to me. Obviously, they must have set that price before they knew about the Gallup injury. He did score a touchdown, as we mentioned, after Gallup went down last week, and he was targeted 6 times in just one half of football last week, and totaled 18.7 fantasy points during that time. The matchup is not great. It's Philadelphia, who I believe is second in the league in points allowed to wide receivers. So you would think a tough matchup, but he did score a touchdown against Philly in Week 3. And a lot of what makes Philadelphia a tough matchup for wide receivers is Darius Slay, who likely will be shadowing either Amari Cooper or CeeDee Lamb. There's plenty of options for them to focus on there. And Dallas still has a lot to play for. They can move up as high as the 2 seed in the playoffs, and I think they want that, because I don't think Dallas wants to potentially go to Lambeau in the second round. Obviously, if they're the 2 seed, they ensure that won't happen. So they got a lot to play for. They're going to be playing to win this game. I don't know that I think Philadelphia's playoff seed is pretty much locked regardless of what happens in this game.
Yeah, I think so.
So Philadelphia, on the other side, isn't necessarily playing for a lot. So I don't know that number 2 in points allowed to wide receivers is going to hold up quite as well. And I think because of the matchup, Cedric Wilson is going to be a very lowly owned player. A lot of times, a lot of novice DraftKings players look at the matchup, they look at the average points that somebody has scored, and they base all their decisions off of that. When you do that, Cedric Wilson is not a guy that a lot of people are going to look at, I don't think. So you're going to have a very low ownership percentage, I would suspect. And I expect similar production out of him that you would get from Michael Gallup in any given game.
Yeah, I'm playing him, and he's done it before. Like, he did it last week, and he's done it a few times this season. It's a great pick, and yeah, I think Philly will just kind of rest their guys, maybe playing for a couple series, or see how the game's going. But Dallas is going to come out, ensure that they get this win, and like you said, Philly, I think they're just going to rest their guys for the playoffs, because I think COVID's going around right now, and we'll see what happens there. But
and the beauty of Cedric Wilson is he has an unlimited ceiling.
Yeah, no, he does.
He can really be a big play guy. He has been all year.
Definitely.
All right. Those are our picks for Week 18, our final of the sleeper picks. And we've got one last pick to bring you, our deep sleeper. And we're going to do that in a moment. But before we do, we're going to talk one last time about the Sports Hub. Make the Sports Hub your game day destination. Bar opens at 10 a.m., kitchen opens at 11 a.m. You guys know the drill. They got $5 bloodies, $5 screwdrivers all game day long. Game day apps and specials to check out as well. So be sure to stop in. And don't forget to register for that Rec Tech Grill. You can do that every single Sunday and increase your amount of entries to win that nice prize. Come here, root on your daily fantasy lineups. I can say that because most of you are not playing redraft anymore, so it's all about daily fantasy at this point. And as always, NFL coverage on Fox begins at 9:30 with our local Packer programming. Terry and the boys take over at 11. At noon, we've got Packers-Lions. Packers saying they're going to play all their starters, so we'll see. If you guys want to watch a Lions destruction, make sure to tune in. And then our afternoon game has a lot more at stake with the Rams taking on the 49ers. 49ers, of course, fighting for a playoff spot. I think a lot of interest, particularly from Packer fans on that one. I think every Packer fan I've talked to has said unanimously that they want nothing to do with the 49ers in the playoffs. I don't hear that same sentiment about the Rams as much, but a lot of people are intimidated of that 49ers team. So I think the Packer Nation is going to be tuned into that one. Should be a great game.
It should be. Yeah, thank you, Sports Hub, once again. All right, let's get into our deep sleeper. Corey, you brought up this name to me, and I couldn't agree more. I'm sure you're excited to talk about him. Do you want to bring him up right now?
Let's talk about him. Ray McLeod, Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver. His DraftKings price is only $3,800. He was targeted 10 times last week. 10. It's not a typo. 10 times. He has seen 8 targets in 4 of the last 7 games. He is undoubtedly leapfrogged James Washington in that depth chart. He's got an excellent matchup, just a juicy matchup. Baltimore 30th in points allowed to wide receivers. Both teams still are playing for a playoff spot, so I think both teams are going to be going at it and going with their normal game plan. And knowing that Pittsburgh's going to be going with their normal game plan, that means there's going to be a lot of volume here. Pittsburgh has had 40-plus pass attempts in 8 of 16 games this year. 40-plus. There was one game where they had 58 pass attempts. They have only had 2 games this year with under 30 pass attempts. 2. And both of those games, been through it 25 times. So still a pretty hefty amount.
Yeah.
And they are playing a team that is horrible against the pass. This all sounds almost too good to be true.
Yeah, he'll get
They're going to
his.
throw the ball a ton, and obviously McLeod, who played the majority of the snaps last week, will be the primary, not the primary beneficiary, but one of the many beneficiaries of that.
He'll definitely get his. And as I was walking to the building, I was on Twitter, and Deontay Johnson is on the COVID list. That's just kind of like breaking news right now. But, I mean, that vaults him up even
we didn't
more.
even know that.
Yeah, that vaults him up even more. I mean, the whole protocol thing, was it 5 days? We're shooting this on Thursday. And, you know, you just got to pay attention to the news and make sure he doesn't get, Ray doesn't get COVID. So just pay attention to that. But, I mean, if he stays healthy and Johnson is out, this is a good play.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, as you guys know, we'll keep you updated if any news on Ray McLeod breaks. But in the interim, this pick was made not knowing this about Deontay Johnson. We made this pick yesterday.
Yeah.
So Deontay Johnson being out obviously bodes even better for Ray McLeod.
Exactly. Jump on that price.
That's right. All right. That's it.
That's it.
We're done here. Our work is done.
Yeah.
It's been 18 weeks. It's been a pleasure to be with you guys and bringing our sleeper picks all regular season long. We definitely hope to be able to do this next year during the regular season, but it's not over. We're still going to be talking to you all postseason long. Of course, less games in the postseason, so it's not necessarily going to be a show that's going to be focused exclusively on sleepers. We'll talk about sleepers for sure. But we're going to just be bringing you all the information we can about the best DFS plays for the postseason, and we look forward to doing that.
Still a lot of money to be made, so we're going to do that.
That's
we're going
right.
to make some money.
Still a lot of money to be made. So thank you guys again for being with us all season long. We're signing off. Good luck in Week 18. Go get them.
Puck's Fantasy Sleepers of the Week, brought to you by the Sports Hub.